Hi, welcome to This Week in Ames. I'm Susan Guiazda. On today's show, we check in with the Water and Pollution Control Department. My guest today is John Dunn, Director of the Water and Pollution Control Department. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So a little bit about your title and your work here at the City of Ames. I recently learned you'd been here over 20 years.
It's amazing it's been 20 years. I was asked when I came how long I would stay, and I said probably 3, and that's 21 years ago.
And the last 10 years you've served as Director.
As Director for the Water and Pollution Control Department.
Yeah, and you've had a pretty big event recently. Just finished a press conference in which you really brought really good news to the citizens of Ames. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, what we wanted to share with our customers was some information just to reassure them in light of all of the news story around what's been happening in Flint, Michigan, and with lead in the drinking water. And we really wanted to convey a message to our customers that the conditions in Ames and the water chemistry in Ames has absolutely no resemblance to what's been going on in Flint, that we have for decades intentionally and specifically controlled the water chemistry to limit the ability of lead to enter the water supply.
And let's just summarize the Flint situation. I think Flint residents had thought for months that something funny was going on with the water. The water itself really wasn't the issue. There was some issue with lead in the infrastructure.
Yeah, what happened was that Flint had changed its treatment system, and the chemistry of the water going out into the system changed, and it became aggressive and corrosive. And what happened is that when that aggressive water entered a customer's plumbing, actually the plumbing in their house, when that plumbing was made of lead, it actually started to corrode the lead and contaminate the water with really, really unsafe levels of lead.
And what you mentioned is that they made a change in the water source. So in neither case was the water source really in question. It was how the water reacted to the plumbing.
That's right. They switched and started using water from the Flint River, which did not have lead in it, and the water coming from their treatment plant didn't have lead in it. The problem was that the water was corrosive, and so when it entered the customer's home, it had the ability to leach lead out of the customer's home plumbing.
The press conference you had recently was really good news in so many different ways. One, we have responsible, reliable, dependable professionals who follow all the federal regulations and state regulations, and I don't even know how many regulations for testing water. But also you looked at the infrastructure, and there was some good news there too.
Yeah, we took a look at just how many properties in Ames we thought still had lead service lines. Lead was actually very common in the 1920s, 30s, 40s. But as we looked through those, many of those service lines had been replaced over the years. And so now it looks like out of about 19,000 individual properties or individual service lines, that there's maybe just a little over 300 that still have lead service lines. So that means for about 98+% of our customers, it's really not an issue at all. It's just that small number that still have lead in their home plumbing that we want to try to educate on what they can do themselves to limit their exposure to lead.
Yeah, and just to clarify, the service line, that is the property owner's connection from their home to the water main, and those are actually belong to the property owner.
They are. The water main in the street is owned by the city, and the tap onto that water main all the way into the house, that entire service line belongs to the customer. The only thing after the tap that the city owns and maintains is the water meter itself.
And we didn't, in the analysis of the water infrastructure owned by the city, you didn't find water mains made of lead?
We did not find water mains made of lead. There looks like there are maybe a couple of locations where there might be some lead joints, and those are being systematically removed through our small water main replacement project.
And also, the good news, again, is that the water, the chemistry at the City of Ames is kept at a level that makes it not corrosive, and I can't remember what you called it.
Yeah, it makes the water more stable. It actually, it's in a category that is typically described as being slightly depositing. There's two advantages. First, the water being non-aggressive towards the lead means that it's not likely to cause lead to leach out. And then the fact that it's slightly depositing means that as it puts that slight ring of deposits on the inside of the pipe, it actually forms a physical barrier that separates the water from the pipe materials. And so it provides a separate barrier.
The other thing that I learned was that as the City of Ames moves forward on new water main replacements, they have been taking out some of those lead service lines.
We do, and the reason we do that is because disturbing a lead service line and not completely removing it can actually make the lead concentrations much, much worse. So as we're going down a street, if we're replacing a water main and we find a lead service attached to it, we will actually replace that for free as a part of our construction project for the homeowner.
And so we're kind of knocking that list down a few numbers each year when we reconstruct those water mains.
That's correct. When the lead and copper rule was passed by the EPA in 1991, we did an initial survey of the community, and there was roughly 1,500 properties at that time that had lead service lines. And so now the fact, 25 years later, that we're down to just 300 shows that we are making progress on getting those out of the ground.
Those customers that may have lead service lines, it's possible they aren't aware of that. What are you doing to educate customers?
Well, we're operating under the assumption that they likely do not know what their service lines are made out of. And before we can educate them that they have things that they can do, they need to understand that they actually have a need to do those. So we are doing a couple of different things. First, we're going to have, by about the middle of next week or around May 25th, an interactive map on our website. So customers can go, they can type in their address, and it will tell them whether their property is on our list of suspected lead service lines. Or they can just navigate the map, zoom in on their neighborhood, and find their house and tell that way. But we don't want to have to make 19,000 customers all go look at the website. So we are going to mail, starting on May 25th, letters, individual letters to each of those 300 or so properties that our records indicate they have lead service lines. And those letters will first make them aware that they have a lead service line. It will also include a brochure that's got some really simple tips that they can use to protect themselves. And then also included in the letter will be an offer for us to test the water in their home for free for them. So any customer who has a lead service line, we would give them a sample kit and instructions on how to collect a sample, and they could do it and bring it back to us, and we would test it in our state certified lab, and then we would provide an individualized report back to them that doesn't just give them a number, but we help them put that number into context as to whether it's a good result or perhaps not.
So just to be clear, it's a very small percentage, probably less than 2%, who may be getting this letter. And because you have a lead service line, that does not mean you have lead in your water.
That is absolutely true. Even in Flint, the lead service lines that were there have been in the ground for decades without posing a problem until the water became aggressive. And so in Ames, those lead service lines have been in place. The oldest one in our records dates back to the 1890s. There's a lead service line that's that old in our community. It hasn't posed a problem for all these years. We don't expect that it would, but we want customers to understand that it's there because we can't categorically say the risk is zero when they do still have a lead service line.
So if people want more information, I know that you're always there to answer questions. They can call you at the 239-5150 number.
That's correct.
But also you have a dedicated web page.
Yeah, we have portions of the web page, and you can get to it just by using the short URL, cityofames.org/lead. And that'll take you where you can find that interactive map as well as a lot of information, a lot of definitions of some of the technical terms that you might find if you looked on a regulatory website. We're also going to be doing a number of social media posts over the next couple of weeks. But then we also want customers to know if they've got questions that go beyond the information is there, they can reach out to us between 8 and 5 Monday through Friday at the water plant, and we'll get them paired up with one of our folks who are best able to answer their questions.
Well, John, sounds like you've had a busy week. I'm glad that really the news overall very positive, very good. I feel very safe that the water I drink every day is healthy. I know you live here, I live here. We drink the water too.
We absolutely do.
Yeah, thanks for stopping in.
Oh, you're welcome.
Again, if you'd like more information about lead in the water and the absence of lead in the City of Ames water, get all the information about that at cityofames.org/lead. You'll get all sorts of access to the interactive map and information about what you can do to protect your safety. Some more things to think about as we get into the month of May. Remember, the Furman Aquatic Center will be opening. Opening day is Saturday, May 28th. Doesn't quite seem warm enough, but it's coming up really soon. Get your pool pass and join us at the Furman Aquatic Center. Well, that's our show for today. Thanks for watching, and tune in next week for This Week in Ames.